Hello everybody, this is Jim Morentz of the SABER and XchangeCore communities, and today we're going to be taking a look at Shake and Fury. SABER has been participating in Shake and Fury since it began last week, and going to give you a little peek at the SABER data viewed in a number of different ways that is happening inside of Shake and Fury right now as a support. And we will then, at the conclusion of that, jump into anybody who wants to practice in the SABER mobile app and just sort of give a little mini experimentation with that to allow everybody to get a little practice during this exercise. So what we're going to do, you just did the piece. If you want to enroll and become a part of the use of the SpotOnResponse Mobile App as part of SABER, we'll then do a quick little SABER overview for anybody who's not familiar. Then take a look at the live from Shake and Fury, and then for those of you who have taken advantage of using the mobile app, we'll play with it a little bit. A couple different ways to interact. You can raise your hand and I'll ask you something. You can send it, and at the end we'll open up everybody's mic and we can talk at that point. So the SABER overview. First of all, the whole goal of SABER is to influence government recovery priorities and to enable business-to-business collaboration so that we can help businesses get back in business faster, because the longer they're out of business, the greater chance of failure. Getting business back in business returns the community. The SABER members are the FEMA lifelines. There are three areas that we focus in: the food, water, sheltering, energy, particularly on the fuel side of that, and health and medical, particularly pharmacies. And we'll take a look at how those have played out in the exercise. We've won awards, credible, and do all of that through a set of technologies that were developed by the Department of Homeland Security, XchangeCore, as some of you who have been around for a while will remember. And the way SABER works is consume information from business about their operational status in three different ways. There are direct connections that can be made between an internal business management system and SABER, the SABER XchangeCore. The second way, and this is the most popular option, a spreadsheet that a business decides this is what I'm using every day to report my business status internally. That exact same spreadsheet, SABER adapts to it and uses that exact same spreadsheet to then take that data and turn it into national standard information formats. And the third way is the SpotOnResponse Mobile App that we'll talk about a little bit later. And all those produce the same thing: information that SABER has that is distributed in a large number of different formats to make it available so that anybody, government, private corporations, other voluntary organizations, in just about any other type of software that is used among all of them, are going to find a way to get the information from SABER and be able to use it in your own software. So SABER is data. It's status data. That's the essence of what we offer. And that data consists of three different types of things. The first one is authoritative information from a company about their business operations, directly from the company. So if you want to talk about vetting information, this is where it gets vetted, because this is provided by the company themselves. Secondly, there are things that we call proxy information. And this is all clearly marked in every piece of data that says, okay, the first example, the Hughes satellite transceiver status, about 50,000 locations across the country. that transceiver is not working. Well, I can tell you one thing, and that is that that transceiver is not working. Now, is that a proxy for that business being closed? That's something that we are assuming, but not defining. So that proxy then is viewed in the context of authoritative information. And I can be pretty confident that if there's a Target in a shopping center that is closed, and I have a proxy from a Pizza Hut in that same shopping center, there's probably a pretty decent chance that that Pizza Hut is closed. But that's an interpretation that has to be made by the end user of the data. SABER is simply providing the data and describing exactly the level of confidence that we have in it between authoritative and proxy. And all this I've been referring to open and closed information. There's a second or a third set of way the information is presented, and that's contextual information about why. These are all talking about the what. That's about, the contextual information is about the why, and we'll take a look at that in a little bit as part of our live from the Shake and Fury view. So we're coming in here, Shake and Fury. What is it? FEMA national level exercise. There was a rupture that occurred last Wednesday of the New Madrid fault. The NBEOC, National Business Emergency Operations Center, had a call on that day and had their sandbox in play for those of us who wanted to practice. SABER has been part of the exercise design in that the 13,000 plus SABER locations in the New Madrid fault area were used by FEMA as ground truth, a earthquake impact model applied against them, and a code provided about the day-to-day potential for each one of those 13,000 businesses to remain open. Closing based on shaking, the modified Mercalli scale index, as well as projections of power outages were the two primary things that were used to determine. So starting on that first day, SABER provided a output of data that was used in a number of ways that we'll take a look at. We've done that every single day along the way, and we're going to be looking at this up to yesterday, I guess it was, because it's around noontime that most companies and in our simulation that the information is provided. Active play for the next couple of days, and there's a time jump out on Thursday and Friday to 60 days after the earthquake for a better look at longer-term recovery. The NBEOC exercise objectives, which SABER is here to support, is situational awareness. Clearly, that's one of the key elements in how SABER data is used. Operational coordination, integration, and process standardization. SABER has focused on the first and the last. Situational awareness, we do. We're now trying to work with the FEMA and other organizations to standardize the process for assuring them that this information will be available, and they assuring us that there's a reason for us doing this by using the information. To just focus you a little bit, this is the New Madrid earthquake area. This is the simulated impact location, and you see it's right along the Mississippi River, and the focus of the exercise has been in those reddish areas. That's where they had the highest level of shaking. And as we'll see, the business losses parallel that particular location. And how that happened is day zero, the earthquake struck. And businesses, again, all simulated, exercise, all simulated, started reporting. And one of the places that was taking the SABER data is the Central United States Earthquake Consortium in their Regional Common Operating Picture dashboard about private sector. And you'll see there they have a whole bunch of different areas up there in the tabs of power, fuel, transportation, communications, food, water, sheltering, private sector is up there. SABER is the principal input for the private sector. And we see in this really nice work that the CUSEC folks have done, what they've done is taken all these businesses and colored the counties by the number of businesses that are being impacted. Down here, a little disruption by business. We'll take a look at all this a little bit later. But this is the beginning of the event. Here we're now up to 1,200 of those over time. 2,400 a little bit later. We're still on the first day, but the simulated closures are being reported. The first set of them coming in mostly from proxy, but now we start to see we got some CVS and Waffle House and others. There's a Lowe's down in the bottom left-hand corner there. So you're starting to see some of the authoritative information coming in. You've got 2,900 there where they continue to grow. How far will they go? 3,700 here in this slightly different view of the SABER data inside of the CUSEC dashboard. 3,700, 3,800. And here, just popping up one of the counties to show that this is Howell County in Missouri. And down here, yes, we got a Walgreens that's closed down there, and it's one of 16 different locations that are in Howell County that are closed. 4,390, you'll find that that's the top. Out of 13,700, 4,390 stores at the height of the first day's earthquake have reported closure. Here's the same view on the status map, 43.9, yeah. Same view on the status map. Here, a little bit different approach. Here the icons change colors. So you see all the Walmart, Walgreens, and other icons down there. They've all turned to a gray because they're closed. As we progress through, that'll be one indicator, a quick indicator of visual indicator of things that are starting to change. Here's a different view in ArcGIS Online, taking the CUSEC, takes the SABER data, configures it into a ArcGIS Online feature service, and then publishes that out as a public layer on ArcGIS Online. So if you're sitting at your ArcGIS Online right now, go in and search for CUSEC, or Shaken Fury, I think is actually what it comes up easiest as. And you'll find the SABER feature service there that you can plug right in to your ArcGIS Online and get this kind of a display and then manipulate the data as you wish. Here's an example of one of those locations. Here's a closed Pizza Hut and some information about the event itself that came from that simulated Pizza Hut. And here, looking at the SpotOnResponse Web Application, again, you see these are largely icons of the companies that are associated with SABER and grayed out in the SpotOnResponse process to show them as closed. And quick pop-up of one of those locations, a closed Walgreens. See the same information that was in the previous application, all of which is the essence of SABER. I want to continue to emphasize that taking the SABER data, putting it into your own application is one of the, was the originating point for SABER. And here in the SpotOnResponse Mobile App, those early views that are out there. At the end of that first day, or during that first day, we took a look at the SABER data from a more summary situation report perspective. And here are the numbers that I've been trying to recollect. 13,378 reporting locations in this earthquake area by SABER. And a third of those, 4,376, reported a business disruption that resulted in their closure. What that disruption is, we're not sure, but At this level, these are open close reports. And you can see across the big box stores, fewer convenience stores, larger percentage of financial institutions have closed down. Biggest numbers in the food arena, which include grocery stores, the Pizza Hut chain, Sonic chain, and a few other ones. And you can see the large percentage of those that have been closed. But there's a second level that we talked about earlier in getting information. This is the what's happened, taking a look at the why of what's going on. And here's part of the why. These are the major areas that businesses told us they would like to report on, which are valuable to them and can be interpreted by government to indicate problems that they have to face to help overcome business. Whole idea of business information influencing the priority setting in government recovery. So quite clearly, we've got structural damage in a bunch of these folks. That can be large, that can be small. It's not broken out on this particular, oh yes it is, there. Major structural damage over there, and some needing repairs is over here in this 5% level. Problems with employees getting to work as the reason they've closed, not happening that first day. Problem with utility is power. Well, yes, clearly that's a big problem over here, 59%. There's a small percentage over there that is using a generator. Problems with customers getting into the store, again, that doesn't even show up as a problem on that first day because people have other concerns rather than shopping. Another area is problem with finances. Am I only doing cash, or do I have only able to accept manual credit cards? That's one of our indicators of the ability of communications. So you'll see on here, nobody is asked, hey, are your communications down? Because it needs to be of importance to the business. And if they can't carry out their financial transactions, that's important. The fact that they've lost their internet, that may or may not be of interest. So this financial transactions becomes a critical one because that means there's lack of internet access in that area. And the problem with supply. And first day, we're not going to have a supply chain issue, more than likely. But that's the picture of what's unfolding on that first day. And what it allowed us to do is to start to probe that massive dots out there on the map, the big long list of the 4,000 people who have closed, and start to say, okay, clearly power is our biggest problem. We've got structural problems that are going to have to be examined in each case. But what can we fix? Well, certainly the power becomes the highest priority to fix, as you might expect. But a additional business management component, because fix the business and you're going to get the community back in place. On that first day, the NBEOC opened up their daily operations dashboard. There were some real things going on, the flooding in the central United States, as well as in the middle tier here, their incident update of the simulated January 29th, 2019 earthquake. For me, that just added one more layer of complication, so I just call them days after the earthquake. So that was all part. SABER was there. We provided someplace in here. There is the link to the SABER site, so people could be looking at the SABER map. And we also provided that report that you just saw as a piece of our product, our situation delivery to the NBEOC, and from there it gets promulgated out to the states. So now we're just going to take a quick look at the days from 1 to 5, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And we went from that 4390 to 4270. Not much happening on that first day. We're still looking at individual points over here that we can go off. Here's a CVS that continues to be closed at this location in the center. This is continues to be a good view of the disruption by business. But in fact, down here we see there's a Lowe's open. Not easy to find 4390, 120. Not easy to find 120 open locations among 4,300 locations. But you can spot them using the SpotOnResponse tool set, where there's a Waffle House that's open, there's a Sonic that's open down there, so you get a picture. And as you zoom in further into the tools, you start to see the minimal scale of recovery. Pick this area right on the Kentucky-Tennessee border, and you can see the predominance of closed businesses there, with one Pizza Hut that has gotten open. If that Pizza Hut had been an authoritative report that was completing the information about their problem set so we could understand why they were open, that would be very useful. Could make guesses. These are all closed because of electricity. Pizza Hut happens to have a generator. So those are things that an analyst would sit down and mine this data for a little bit more assumptions that upon which government resource allocation can be based. So then next day, I sort of lump these days together, but you start to see the fringes. We're getting some yellows out here. The pinker colors there are limited operation. The full colors are regular logo colors, are full operations. There we've got a CVS in yellow that is only a limited operation. But you can see we're starting to pick up around the fringes. A couple of oddballs here, more in the center, that have managed to get open as well. But principally, we're starting to see some of the fringe areas go. By Monday morning, you're starting to see lots of openings that have taken place. And these are the areas of less shaking, less power outages, things that have been restored. But you sort of see, if you can think back to that map, I should have pasted it on here, think back to that map of some of the brightest red areas are sort of right along this stretch here, and some more over in this area. So you're starting to see the opening and closing reflecting the actual greater areas of damage. And as we follow this out through the next 60 days, you're going to discover that, in fact, some of these stores remain closed for the next 2 months. And over the next week, SABER carried it out, mentioned that the next Thursday, or this Thursday, Friday, are days 60 and 61. In our SABER analysis, we didn't stop at day 7, which is Wednesday, and then jump to 60, 61. We did day 15, 30, 45, and then go to 60. So we see a very nice transition, and we'll continue to publish these up on the SABER map if you want to take a look at the way in which the biweekly periods are transitioning this shaking or these outages into return to business. Again, day 5, Monday morning, same as the last view, but here's the CUSEC private sector view. 1742 is what we're down to yesterday, and you see many more green lights up here. And what I want to do is focus a little bit on CUSEC and this tool set. Nope, don't see Eric on. I was going to offer him a chance to talk because Eric is the lead developer behind this. But this beautiful dashboard has a number of features associated with it. Obviously, the mapping that we've seen, and you have seen point mapping and the county mapping. The ability, we go in here, to pull different formats of viewing the information. Down at the bottom, the top 5 counties where the most businesses closed is one way to look at that. You've been looking at the smaller view of the list, and you can scroll through, hit any one of these, get additional information for it, and show its location on the map. Closures over time is very interesting as that flows through here. You're starting to see the decline in the closures over time. And again, business disruptions. A very nice way to take a look and unpeel this SABER data and make it valuable from an analytical standpoint. Also, able to go in across the top here, we have each one of these, and this is a discussion that we'll touch on in a little bit. These are the categories of business. We saw that list earlier. We broke that down. Big box, convenient, finance, food, fuel, home improvement, hotel, incidents, pharmacy, and retail. Those allow us to, just by clicking on these buttons in the private sector dashboard, to then filter the information there. So out of those 1,742, finance, fuel, home improvement, and pharmacy represents 737. And you can see, again, the concentrations of location where those businesses are still closed. So very, very nice tool set. And the fact that CUSEC has built this as part of a partnership with Department of Homeland Security, Science and Technology has allowed SABER to work with them, provide the SABER data to this public sector dashboard. And then because they have created the ArcGIS feature service, CUSEC publishes that out, as I mentioned, so others can gather that information. Always, again, getting all the key information out from SABER, but this is a sort of a rebroadcaster of the SABER information. And just looking at the mobile apps, since we're going to start to take a look at those, you can start to see this, again, that resilience around the impact zone. All the gray guys in the middle and all the other guys overlapping on each other. And then here, mentioned before, you go into some of these areas and you can start to see that while you do have an intense level of loss along the fault, the highest level of shaking, and my guess is if we were clicking on each one of these, we would see them as having structural damage as the reason for still being closed. Whereas these areas probably had limited damage or no damage, but were out because of electricity, and they have now been restored. So let's see whether anybody has any questions at this point. Don't see anybody who's written any questions. Let me come down here and you are all muted, but I'm going to unmute everyone. And you can now, if you wish, unmute yourself and ask a question if you would like, or use the written question thing. And while we wait for that, let me click on down here, because the next thing we're going to do is a little practice and play. So if anybody has been part of the Shaken Fury and you have done anything through SABER, hopefully you're on the line and you want to play a little bit more while we're doing this. And those of you, welcome to watch and see the activities that we have available here using a couple of tools here. That's the live view. All right. So here is the SABER mobile app on the left-hand side and the web app on the right-hand side. And this is something that I would do if I were trying to organize a group of people at this point to participate. I want to make an announcement. And the announcement is going to be that webinar, if I could type, is going on, and you can practice with your response in Shaken Fury. And let's put that out as we'll even call it an alert. So we're going to do that. Now what's going to happen is that you hear my little siren going off, this is my phone right now, the one that you're seeing over here on the left-hand side. And what that has done, that's awakening, and this alert has gone out to some of you perhaps, if you've been playing along, or anybody who is part of the SABER family through the SpotOnResponse application. And they have all gotten this message saying, okay, hey, it's time to play. So let's come back here, and I want to take a look at the United States just to see whether we got anybody else who's joined in. I'm not seeing, unless they're buried in there, which is always a possibility. But this person right here, I'm now going to show you what I would be doing were I a responder, a business owner, or others. I just went into my SABER mobile app right here, and what I want to do is just say, hey, we just had an earthquake, and I am going to tell you that I'm closing this store and getting out. So it's Tom Kinsel, Sears Holding is his simulated role, and what I'm going to do is actually just dictate this. Strong earthquake felt. I have closed the store and told all the employees to go home. I'm going to submit that, and that now becomes my business report with no advanced preparation. I'm a business person, or we do these spot reports. You saw that they are for any purpose. So I'm a fireman out there. I want to be able to make a report in. I can use that spot report. And what we do is be able to get that information out to everybody. Over here we see on the home screen, as it were, there's the closed Sears Holdings that just showed up. And because this is a mobile app and it has my GPS location, and right there I see Tom Kinsel's strong earthquake, the stuff that I dictated there. So we're starting to build some additional SABER-based information. And I do see somebody down here in the Jacksonville area who just joined us. Michael Reddig, welcome to the Shake and Fury exercise. If you want to go off and don't know whether you're on the mobile app or not, if you're on the mobile app, go ahead and do that that I did, or you can follow along with this. Because what we're going to do is now create a different form, a different way of looking at this information. That is done live, quick report, and says, this is where I am. But now let's say I'm a manager. And as a manager, I want to provide more information about several sites. So what I'm going to do is take a look, and I've got my business status report here. And that business status report is the SABER best practices for contextual information. And what I want to do is say that I'm going to be, let's just be a convenience store here. Again, these categories are those lifeline categories that we saw before. So each business is going to be categorized in that. I'm going to be that, and I think I will be a Jack convenience and gas. Describe the situation. Well, we have felt strong shaking, and my status is going to be right now, I'm just going to have some limited operations because I'm not sure what's happening, but looking around, I think I can reopen tomorrow. And status comments, I won't bother with those. But what I want to do is come over here and look at those categories of the why I might have those limited operations. Damage to facility? Nope, I didn't have any damage to my facility. My employees, however, may very well be displaced by this. So I'm going to put that down as a possible reason why I have limited operations. Electricity hasn't gone off. Well, let's say that my electricity has gone off, but I have a generator. So how about if we do it that way? Let's have a generator, but I don't have a whole lot of supply there. My customers, they don't seem to have a problem. I don't have anything, but you know what? I don't want to cash checks because I don't want to give up on all my money. And it's only the day after, so I have sufficient supply to keep going in my gas station. And what I want to do here is, this is out in North Carolina. Let's leave me there. That's where my my physical location. Now, actually, I'm going to change my mind on that. Let's say I'm a manager, and what I want to do is change that. I know I've got a person out here who's, we're in Mount Zion over there. So I'm going to say my store is in Carrollton, right, which is Mount Zion area. That's what I'm going to do. And have that location show up. And that's someplace out here in North Carolina, I think. And we'll see. We got Sears Holdings, yes. And Jack's Convenience Store. We see that there. And we also see that the icon has shown up here. If I wonder where Jack's Convenience Store is, I'm able to click. And if I had all those icons out there, oh, I was in Georgia, okay. And I get my driving directions to Jack's Convenience Store at this time. So what I've now done is, again, I'm a manager. I have done nothing in advance. No preparation whatsoever. I can download the SABER mobile app, with which I can do all this. You saw me do the spot report. And I can provide all the information that I need to create a set of contextual reports, our big deal reports, for all of my stores in the area. And that allows me then to be able to provide information back up the chain to my corporate headquarters, shared out to the states, and further on up the line. So those are the two elements that I wanted to take a quick look at today in using the SABER mobile app. If anybody else is out there and wants to play along, we'll keep this conversation going for a while. But at this point, just want to sort of do a final set of questions. If anybody has any, pump them in through the question line, or I have unmute all attendees. Yes, I'm going to do that. So if you want to talk, you can unmute your phone, and you should be able to come through and talk to everybody. But that's the activity of SABER information coming in to multiple applications. You saw the CUSEC one, and if in fact, I think this is CUSEC updates every 30 minutes, so we may not see those that just came in, but the ones that we just added there would in fact show up here as part of the CUSEC simulation. So that in one application here in the SpotOnResponse application, and just to give you a quick look over here, there's that notification that came through because I didn't go look at that. Notifications all have a timeout that you can set. So if somebody showed up at the end of this meeting, I would have set this for 1 o'clock Eastern time so that it doesn't bother them because they didn't show up during the call anyhow. And here we are inside of the mobile app to see a similar type of thing. So with that, open it up for any questions. Seeing none, let me close down the webinar. I will leave it open until 1 o'clock if anybody wants to join in and mess around and didn't want to be part of a public spectacle of seeing yourself do things. But we'll keep this on to 1 o'clock. And other than that, let me say thank you very much. Hope you've all had a good look into the business side of Shaken Fury. And we will reconvene next month. Take a look. We've got this webinar and the last one recordings will be released next week or so. Oops, I see Martha has raised her hand. And she says, thank you. Well, thank you very much, Martha. I appreciate that. All right, everyone. Thanks very much. And hope you, if you're playing in the exercise, hope you have good future participation and feel free to continue to use the SpotOnResponse tools as part of SABER. Bye, everybody.